Vampire, nice to see you. Welcome to Campbell 1X, Lacey 1X. Vampire, they take that left, pick up the shot.
Few minutes time, so he has his chance to comment on somebody else's model and somebody else's display. Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you very much, Andy. Of course, the model, as you can see, it gets quite small, quite quick. So you're always looking.
I think, as Jeff just mentioned, one of the difficulties in flying these type of aircraft. Now, in the flying display, in the full-size flying display today, you'll see aircraft powered by a range of jet engines, starting from around about 5,000 pounds of thrust, all the way up to some 18,000 pounds of thrust. Well, this model...
And really these packages that we're using now are really fit, fly and forget. This aeroplane was completed approximately 3 years ago, and the service life of the engine is such that we haven't actually had to take it out and do any maintenance to it as yet. But as you can see, it's demonstrated a nice speed envelope, and here we are now on final, gear down, flaps down, and a lovely touchdown. Slight nod from the nose, and that just about rounds the flight off for Jeff.
Oh, no. So thanks to Steve, thanks to Jeff, thanks to the Bandit and all members of the Swindon Model Aircraft Club for opening the display for us this morning, and I'm sure they'll all be back tomorrow. That's all for me. I'm going to go and have a cup of tea and warm up somewhere. So back to you, Trevor.
Well, thank you very much. Come back.
Stop fiddling.
Off Mike Echo, you'll then see a way mode in
It's great fun, very much great fun indeed. I think it's fun. Aerobatics display pilot from RAF Linton News. As Tom enters, have a go at guessing the height of his low-speed pass. Pulling up for a Canadian break there, you saw Tom rolling one way and then pulling the other, hopefully to confuse any adversaries that might be on his tail. And now running in towards us for the first of his vertical manoeuvres. Tom is a qualified flying instructor on 72 Reserve Squadron, which is one of two squadrons that trains the future fast jet pilots for the Royal Air Force, Royal Navy and Foreign and Commonwealth Forces. And pulling up, starting like a loop, now he's turning through 90, now pulling down to complete the first leaf of a clover. And running through Crown Centre, putting off his second vertical manoeuvre, which is a hesitation half Cuban. Rolling onto a knife edge, and then completing the roll onto his back, and then pulling down to complete, again, what looks like the back half of a loop. In all his vertical manoeuvres, Tom is pulling up to about 2,200 feet and needs a cloud base of 3,000 feet to be able to do his full display. A slow roll now, you can now see the aircraft scheme. Now you see him, now you don't. And it's a nice use of stick and rudder to keep the aircraft straight and level. And this requires quite a deal of coordination. Pulling up for a half horizontal. Tom joined the Royal Air Force in 2005, and after successfully completing the Tucano course and the 208 Squadron Hawk course, he was creamed off to become an instructor. He is now nearing the end of his tour and will shortly be refreshing on 208 Squadron before going to 19 Squadron for tactical weapons training and then on to his fast jet OCU. And there you saw him doing a crisp and accurate 3 parts of a 4-point roll. A hesitation reverse wing over here, which is a great opportunity for a pilot to have a good look out, and it's also very good for linking aerobatic sequences. And running in towards us for another quarter clover. Linton-on-Ouse, which is near York, is home to number 1 FTS, which is the longest serving flying training school in the world. In parallel, 72R and 207R squadrons, CFS Tucano Squadron train all pilot instructors and maintain standards, while 76R Squadron trains the future Wizzos for both fast jet and multi-engine streams, which in effect means Tornado GR4 or later the Nimrod MR4 will enter service. Tom now performing some maximum rate turns with an aileron roll and a max possible rate turn, turning the aircraft on a sixpence as tight as he can there. And running in towards us for another Canadian break, and then for the most uncomfortable manoeuvre of the sequence. He's now pushing up for a quarter Cuban. Here he's pushing about -2.5 to -3 times the force of gravity. That's minus, so all the blood rushing to his head. Hanging the straps are really, really uncomfortable, quite painful, certainly to a navigator. And pulling down now to complete, again, looks like the back half of a loop, back into positive G. It's worth mentioning here, the Tucano does not have any G protection for its crew, so the crew have to rely on breathing exercises, muscle tensing, and good old grunting. The loop with a 90 degrees turn there, and before Tom goes out for the first of his noddy stall turns. Flying aerobatics is a very important discipline for military pilots and forms a large part of any military flying training syllabus. Flying aeros enables pilots to develop their flying skills and explore the aircraft performance to the full. And Tom kicking left, kicking right, and then kicking over further to the left, pivoting around the left-hand wing there, pretty much no airspeed at the top, and just letting the aircraft point towards the ground, picking up authority over the controls before pulling out for his next manoeuvre, which you won't be surprised to find is a Canadian break. In fact, it wasn't there. Obviously, the wind is causing a few problems, so he's just changed his routine slightly. And a half Cuban, as you've seen before. These aerobatic skills were developed during World War I and World War II dogfights, and in particular during the Battle of Britain. Tom, upside down again. He likes being upside down. With an aileron roll to complete that inverted pass. The display aircraft this year, as you can see, are sporting this spectacular livery, and this year sees the RAF celebrate and commemorate the 70th anniversary of the Battle of Britain. The 72 Squadron played a vital part in this battle, and is one of only a few Battle of Britain squadrons still flying today. While Tom completes an offset roll at the top, I'll just talk about the aircraft itself. Although the aircraft are painted to commemorate Battle of Britain fighter pilots who went on to become commanding officers of the 72 Squadron, the scheme is a tribute to all those ground and air crew who fought in the battle. Lima Zulu Romeo, that took fire, was flown by Bobby Offspring with 66 Squadron. And the spare today, Quebec Juliet Foxtrot, was flown by Brian Kinkham with 92 Squadron. And Tom's completing another stall turn. These aerobatic skills that Tom is displaying today are taught to all pilots in the Royal Air Force, and as I said, are a very important discipline for these pilots to learn. These skills are vital on the front line, where they may have to fight the aircraft in combat, perform complex weapons delivery profiles, or evade ground-to-air munitions. And as Tom runs in for his final pass, at 100 feet, and about 300 knots, ladies and gentlemen, Flight Attendant Tom Bold, Royal Air Force Tucano Display Pilot for 2010.
I think we should give him a big round of applause. A lovely crisp display.
Beautiful sight and sound of the DC-3 Dakota.
C-47 Spanner.
ensure that all Allied pilots could identify all Allied aircraft. Also took part in the resupply of Patton's Third Army and also casualty evacuation efforts from the newly completed Advanced Landing Grounds, or cow pastures as they were nicknamed. These were temporary airfields set up in Normandy, and these missions continued until the end of the war. Purposely located very close to the front lines, sometimes the tanks to be refuelled were actually waiting on the landing grounds for the DC-3s to arrive. The aircraft returned to the UK in early September 1944, but only for a short break, as flying from Balderton near Newark, the group dropped part of the 82nd Airborne Division near Nijmegen in Holland, part of the Market Operation of Operation Market Garden, a bridge too far. And that was at the end of the combat record for this particular aircraft. December 1944, the aircraft was involved in the Battle of the Bulge in the Ardennes forest in Belgium, especially around the besieged town of Bastogne, flying numerous supply drops and glider resupply missions in support of the entrapped paratroopers. And in March of the 1940 year, Operation Varsity, the Rhine crossing. The aircraft performed a double tow of 2 Waco gliders onto landing zones near Weissel in Germany.
They get in, Patty.
I think it's fair to say DC-3 probably the greatest track.
They get in, Patty. Good.
Extra capital information.
Mark's pulling up 4, a roll off the top followed by a tail slide. He's got a nifty piece of string on the end of his wing which shows him when the aeroplane is flying backwards. And there he goes, canopy down. And then he'll be coming back, crowd centre, pulling up for a multiple tumbling avalanche. So this move involves flying round into half a loop. There he goes, and he'll just watch the aeroplane then depart. Look at that, it's fantastic. It's like being on the inside of a washing machine on the full spin cycle. I've been lucky enough to sit in with Mark on these amazing display practices, and being subject to +8, -5.5 G is a huge amount of fun. Pulling up now for a stall turn, roll on the way up, and then the aircraft will then just hang on the propeller, turn 180 degrees before pitching back down towards the ground. The Extra 300 is a high-performance aerobatic machine built solely for the world of unlimited competition aerobatics and air displays. It's the 2-seat version, similar to those used in the Red Bull Air Racing. It has a roll rate of 400 degrees a second, stressed at plus and minus 10 G. It can do everything the right way up that it can do upside down. Another 3G pull up into my favourite manoeuvre, the cravat. Roll all the way down, coming back towards us, and he'll go back off to the left for a P loop with lots more tumbling gyroscopics for you. The aircraft has a massive 9-litre engine, producing 300 brake horsepower, and the engines for us are looked after by Nichols McLaren, who also look after a lot of the Formula One racing cars. So I'm sure you can imagine, hugely important to keep these aircraft in pristine condition, and Nichols McLaren provides the precision air engineering that we need to make sure these aircraft are kept in perfect condition. Marked upside down, a minus 5G pull up into the vertical, and another tumble for you. As you can see, he absolutely loves flying these manoeuvres. It's an enormous amount of time and effort that's involved with getting this display together. And Mark will have done probably in the region of 20 to 30 display practices before getting ready for the season. He's going to be pushing over, it's probably another 5G push over the top there. And you see him be working incredibly hard, although most of the time he's actually singing songs to himself. Now this is a manoeuvre that he's borrowed from the fabulous Matador team. It's a yaw, so the aircraft is flying and then pushing over into another amazing tunnel. That one called a Ruard. As well as the Extra 300, we also operate Bulldog aircraft, and we look after the Chipmunk that Fly to Help operate, which is the resident airfield charity. And we take people, as we said, on these amazing flights. So if anything you've seen today that you think you might like to handle some amazing aerobatics, or even a Top Gun flight where you can come and run this rated knife edge, there's kind of an opportunity for you. Come along and see us on the Ultimate High Stand. You can come and sit in one of our Bulldog aircraft, meet the team, find out a little bit more about what Ultimate High has to offer. We're offering discounts on our flights for this weekend, so you can come along, grab a voucher, chat to us about it all. We are situated to the left-hand side of the display line. We've got aeroplanes there for you to have a look at, and come and meet some of our Sky God pilots. I hope you enjoy.
The throttles to control his height. The onboard computers, of which there are over 130, will be controlling the jet's angle of attack towards the oncoming airflow. After this, it will be positioning for a slow-speed oblique loop, demonstrating the power of the two EJ200 turbojet engines, each producing over 20,000 pounds of thrust in full afterburner. This results in a max speed of Mach 2. accelerating around the corner for his high-speed pass.
Straight from the start, team pull up into a loop. At the top of the loop, they turn 90 degrees, typically cruiser and leave. Lead aircraft is a Super 52, flown by the team leader and owner, Jez Hopkinson. Now this is a very special Yak 52, known as a Super 52. It was developed especially for the team. Now, very closely to the four-aircraft pull-up, one of those, if not the most classic aerobatic manoeuvre, the barrel roll. Surrounding the Yak 52 are three single-seat Yak 50s, one of the world's greatest aerobatic aircraft, designed by the legendary Sergei Yakolev. So if you missed the barrel roll the first time around, well, here's another opportunity. Flying Yak 2 today is Peter Scandrett, number 3 John Herod, and number 4 Nick Barnard. Pull up, this time to complete a full loop. Really enjoying this nice little bit of sunshine just filtering through. Let's hope that bodes well for the rest of the display. So once again the team pull up, and this time again there's a little twist at the top. The aircraft come out of that manoeuvre straight towards you. Stand by for the splits.
Yeah, got it.
Fighting gravity. Of course, gravity will eventually win. Kick over the top. Synchronised turns. Accelerating now. Back down the hill towards each other. Smoke training for the cross. So those opposition reverse half Cubans. The two head-to-head again for yet another cross. Rolling away. So now it's time to... Now if you're wondering about that smoke, absolutely nothing to worry about whatsoever. It is entirely biodegradable and does absolutely no harm to the somewhat fresh air we have today here at Cotswold Airshow. So as the formation pair come back down the hill, accelerated as they do, smoke on. Listening for the call, as they pull up again. For yet another barrel roll, one of the hardest manoeuvres to perform for a piston engine aircraft, basically because of the torque effect. As the aircraft turns the propeller actually tries to turn the aircraft, which can create all sorts of problems with certain aerobatic manoeuvres, especially the barrel roll. Once again, the two yaks pull up for a very, very graceful loop. As they come out the loop, watch again. For the solo, flick of the stick comes immediately to heel. Now look against your right-hand side, turn the other three aircraft in formation, just opening up perfectly. So now Yak 4 has his work cut out. As he chases to join his team members. Team pull up to 7G in this routine. With that flourish, Yak 4 chasing down his comrades. It's time to make sure you have your cameras close at hand as the aircraft roll out directly in front of you for the Yakolev break. Signature position of box. Box with an extra. As Yak 4 rolls around the formation. You show your appreciation to the Yakolevs, Jess Hopkinson, Nick Barnard, Peter Scandrett and John Herring.
Come on, guys, give them a wave. They can see you.
Well, it'll open nicely. But they will. Okay, as I said, we've got Jay. He's flying the Union flag for us today. Flying the flag does have a little bit of extra drag and is a little bit more difficult than flying just with the smokes, so we need to give him a little bit more credit when he lands. Okay, the first canopy that's got, it's George, I beg your pardon. We've got Martin that's just coming into land now.
I'm looking for 6, am I?
He's the most experienced member. He's flying a really large canopy as he's well known for doing his accuracy tricks. Okay, so I'm pretty sure he's not going to let me down landing off. Okay, this is Glyn Summers coming in front of the VIP tent now. And like I say, this is his very first demo, so he deserves a massive round of applause when he lands safely, which I've no doubt he will. He's a delivery driver by day, and he's worked very hard to get demo cleared so that he can do this display for us today. Okay, a little bit off target, but we'll let him off. So we can have a nice round of applause for Glyn. Also, we have Martin landing over the other side. It was only his second display. And as I said, as a workshop controller for TH Flights, and he was, I know, very, very nervous. Yeah, so the only guy that we've got left in the sky is our very old veteran, Barry Joss. Absolutely lovely chap. He'll be coming over to the stand if you want to have a chat with him about how parachuting has changed over the years.
Yeah, what we'd like to do is land 08, taxi over to the south side and then taxi the parking along the ground, that way. Yeah, we were hoping you'd do that along the cloud line, south-east crossover, thank you. Yeah, that's what we need to do, thank you.
And as you see, he went a little bit sideways there. It is a little bit blustery up there. And here he comes, and he'll do a nice soft landing for us.
You're not going to quite believe what you see. Now, running in from your left-hand side, about to commence their display, the Swift Aerobatic Display Team. Well, this display really comes in about 5 different sections. Some of it at low level, some of it at high level, some in formation, some in opposition. Now rolling in from right hand side, Swift glider being towed by the Pawnee, and just underneath one of the Twisters. Earlier that normally when you watch a glider display, you just take the glider to altitude, cast off, start the display. Not so for Guy Westgate. The Swift glider, first part of his routine, is still on tow. And when I talk about Guy Westgate, I'm not just talking about any glider pilot. 8 times national champion and 3 times world champion. It doesn't come any better than that at all. Watch now as the Twister barrel rolls around the formation, Swift glider and the Pawnee.
What's happening is the glider's being tugged around the air. Well, just you watch very closely.
Well, I tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, believe me, that's a difficult manoeuvre to perform in perfectly still conditions in the tricky on-crowd wind. As you can see from this synchro stall turn manoeuvre, you may think that wing looks familiar. Well, it is based on, of course, the legendary Spitfire design. This particular aircraft, the Twister, designed in Germany, first flew in. It does give the aircraft an excellent turn of speed, up to 162 knots. Distressed, plus 6G, minus 4G. Believe me, these two guys are certainly pulling that. So they pull up here to the avalanche. Looks like a loop at the top. They just perform a very nice roll before completing the loop down the other side. See, it looks like it's going to be another loop on the way down. Both aircraft roll the right way up. In doing so, reverse their direction. Seen the Swift team before know that in previous years they've just flown with one twister. Well, pleased that Peter Wells completed his second twister last year. Has a slightly different engine to his original, and it's certainly a case of one twister plus another twister.
So as the twister pair complete their display, it's time to look directly in front of you up high. You can see the tug and glider combination, and Guy is off the toe and away he goes for his solo display.
basically painted in some of the colour schemes of Royal Air Force. And if you look very close, you might even see some Arabic painted on the fuselage. So Chris leading the team in for a nice wing over to the left. So just going to pull up into a nice barrel roll. It's the team unique not only in being the world's only strongest display team, but being flown by current or ex-Royal Air Force pilots. So Chris Heem, Squadron Leader, current Air Force. Number 3, Dan Arlott, also Squadron Leader, flying Tornadoes up at Lucas. Number 4, Mark Southern, used to fly Hawks and Tornadoes, now fly 757s. And Gerald Williams, and number 2, leading the team in now for a nice loop. Mark at the back, having to work quite hard. He's on max throttle all the way over. Extraordinarily heavy. There are no hydraulic controls in that aircraft. So unlike your car, which has got power steering, there's absolutely nothing like that in these aircraft. So it's pure muscle power controlling it all the time. And there's also no anti-G mechanism, so there's no G suits or anything. It's just the pilot sitting in the seat doing all the work. Reposition the aircraft. So this aircraft is all Army Air Force colours, and in the air the engravings are very difficult to see. It's obviously what it was designed to do.
Also, if you'd like to have a look around another great aircraft, this time that huge, lovely biplane, the AN2, picked up the Renegade parachute display team display line. So please go and see the guys over the AN2. It's a great chance to get inside this biplane. So now we move straight on with the next display item, and to tell you all about it, here's Sub-Lieutenant Alex Taylor.
Thanks, Andy. Well, it's truly an honour to be invited to display here at Cotswold. We break over the top of Becky, who will now take the lead as the two legs fly away. Flying flying in Mark 8 Lynx aircraft today. This, with its array of integrated avionics, is the frontline variant of the Maritime Lynx. Again, have your cameras at the ready as Chris and Becky turn to face each other and perform a nose over to cross in the middle. Just on the crown centre, so they'll be maintaining good communication in order to get the timing just right. We'll now demonstrate one of the unique features of the Maritime Lynx. Becky has landed on and turned the nose wheel through 90 degrees to the caster position. This allows the helicopter to turn on the spot, which is a very useful ability for operating from a frigate or destroyer's small flight deck. Meanwhile, Chris, who's remained in the hover, is demonstrating a manoeuvre familiar to any self-respecting helicopter pilot, the spot turn. For another photo opportunity for those of you with cameras. Becky and Chris are climbing vertically to 300 foot to set up for an inline nose over. So have your cameras at the ready and listen for the rotor blades slap as they descend and turn, which is a sound unique to helicopter display flying. Any minute now. His full-time flying instructors on 702 Squadron, and so have to fit in display training and rehearsal around their teaching duties. This makes Becky and Chris probably the two busiest people on the squadron. As I speak, they're setting up to perform a carousel, a precision manoeuvre which requires high levels of control coordination as both the yaw pedals and cycling stick are used at the same time. Helicopter pilots have three sets of controls. The collective lever controls vertical speed by adjusting the rotor blade angle. The yaw pedals change the thrust from the tail rotor, which turns the aircraft left or right. And finally, the cycling stick controls the pitch and roll of the aircraft. This is something you won't see from our fixed-wing counterparts, face-to-face formation flying. Becky then accelerates backwards to about 35 miles per hour airspeed. Which is about the limit for the Lynx to the rear. And now to change direction, they both perform the swing mode manoeuvre, with Chris keeping control station and Becky in the hotel. As they cross the crown centre for another swing mode. Very nice. Now let's get back to some of the more dynamic manoeuvres. Becky is building backwards momentum now, and will use both the cycling stick and left yaw pedal to perform the helicopter equivalent of a reverse 180 and over the shoulder departure. Becky will be looking to brake over the top of Chris, and they'll head away for a second crossing wing over. Finally, here's your chance to wave them goodbye as they speed towards us at 120 knots for the final high-speed cross. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Black Cats, I'd like to thank you for watching our performance.
Supporting the Royal Air Force Benevolent Fund. So there's lots of great... Well, we do like that.
Well, thanks for that, Andy. We're very pleased to be here at Kemble this weekend. Always one of our favourite events of the season. Really. You can see there just how agile the aeroplane is for a 1950s fighter. They're quite elegant, Andy, don't you think?
Absolutely. It's that classic sort of bat-shaped wing that's it's similar to the Vampire in the park as well. When you do see the two side by side, it does look like the big brother.
It is, that's right. And as you saw, the tip tanks are the real giveaway. That's the second Venom running through. That's John Beattie flying that aircraft today. That's G Venom. Again, built for the Swiss Air Force. Came across here in 1984. And Venom didn't actually do a lot of flying in its early days in the UK. It flew down to Aces High, down at North Weald for a while. Pretty much went into storage about 1986, right through to the late 90s when it was restored by Kennett Aviation at North Weald. And we've operated it since about 2006, 2007.
Good opportunity to remind you that Planes TV are filming here today. But look in front, the arrival, the Royal Air Force Aerobatic Team, the Red Arrows. He's not just the commentator for the team, he carries out lots of other tasks, mainly to do with flight safety.
Holding the bank now. Okay. Four, five.
So now look to your left-hand side for the run and brake on arrival for the Red Arrows. Let's listen in.
Right, so far. Go. Okay. That, left out. Clear.
slightly different. The longer wing, the main difference being the longer wing, thus enabling this aircraft to carry slightly more weight. Prototype first flew 21st of November 1952. 45 were produced for the Royal Air Force, the last one being completed in February 1958. Like all passenger transports in service with the Royal Air Force, the seats on this aircraft are actually fitted backwards. Something the Royal Air Force has always done, even to this day. It's one of those things you either like or you don't like. I know some people that don't like travelling backwards, certainly sat backwards on trains or even some cars. This particular aircraft rolled off the production line at Luton on the 2nd of March 1955, delivered to number 9 maintenance unit.
Drop up Sierra, come information. Yeah, we're about 4 miles to the south.
Opportunity, just landed from the left hand side. From the commentary position, we're looking at loads of little dots in the sky. Jet Provosts, the 4 of them, got airborne ages ago, well, it seems ages ago. I'm sure they're having fun out there, but they're looking forward to coming back and displaying for you. I'm expecting Jet Provosts to be the next display item.
This is the son of the you're afraid of flying it. This.
The first type was the Mark 102. Took to the air for the first time 26th of June 1954. Prototype Jet Provost soon caught the eye of the Royal Air Force. Its side-by-side layout and superb handling qualities. So the RAF purchased an initial batch of airframes.
Approximately minute 4:08, if that's okay.
Jet Provost Mark III's remained in service with the Royal Air Force for some 30 years.
Carlo, come to the information. Go ahead, Carlo. Got 3 Jet Provosts.
So I don't think you're going to do it.
It's not a sensible thing to do, but and it's a fantastic little aircraft. Those of you that know Cotswold will notice that there's about 3 foot of wingtip taken off. Having a look, matching the speed of the trailer, bringing it down, just relieving the speed off, holding it back, feeling the wind coming off the top of that trailer. He does this and it'll be absolutely amazing in this wind. He's got to touch down and walk it up to where the clamps would come off. He's down, no, he's very wisely thrown it away. That was very, very wise thing to do. It was almost good, but almost good is not good enough in situations like this. It's got to be absolutely rock solid with this wind. I don't know whether he's going to give it another go, if he'd actually got that down.
Yeah, that was one of the most remarkable touches I've ever seen.
Yes, as opposed to the rest of the stuff that we've seen today, and the red arrows, which is displayed, they always seem to get it wrong. So, ladies and gentlemen out there, if you ever see somebody described as a stunt flyer when they're actually not doing a stunt, they're doing a display, write it in play, because the press always seem to get it wrong.
So yes, now Brendan is going to have another go. It's just whizzing round.
The thing is, you don't get very much time to decide whether it's a good run or not. You've got to get the aircraft round, you've got to match the speed of the trailer. It's highly one wheel wrong. And it's actually more dangerous the slower you get. Even when the aircraft is actually on the top of the thing, if he gets it wrong, even at like 10 miles an hour, the aircraft can still topple over the side with just as disastrous results. Here he comes again, give him a wave. Won't be actually looking at you, but he'll know that you're wind, turbulence coming off the top of that trailer. There he goes, dropping it. No.
And sometimes the enemy can sneak in under radar cover and, well, as you just seen, certainly do have trouble here as a Messerschmitt has appeared out of nowhere, as they frequently did during 1940, and started to beat up the airfield. And poor Rapide is in trouble here. I think he's going to try and get out of it, either run away very quickly or land.
I have to say, I'm not looking forward to being in the office on Monday, because this wasn't in John's contract.
Absolutely. So I think the Rapide is going to get out of the way pretty quick. And that does mean that we do have a Luftwaffe aircraft above the airfield. We do have a Luftwaffe aircraft above the airfield. So our gunners are opening up on the Messerschmitt.
All through the evening, and at about 3 o'clock in the morning, the Hurricane pilots actually gave in and did agree that if we'd have only had Hurricanes, we would never have won the Battle of Britain. If we'd have been equipped with all Spitfires,
it was certainly the Spitfire that caught everyone's attention. Communities, towns, villages created Spitfire funds to raise money to basically buy a Spitfire that they could put their name on. I never heard of any village creating a Hurricane fund.
I think the Spitfire became Winston Churchill's Excalibur. It was his magical... our finest. Interesting little facts. It takes twice as long to rebuild a Hurricane as it does to rebuild a Spitfire. But it took twice as long to build a Spitfire as it did to build a Hurricane. Certainly no doubt, Andy, that the Hurricane could take more punishment than the Spitfire. In fact, Hurricanes came back in tatters many times when Spitfires were more easily damaged, and especially when the Germans started using incendiary cannon shells, because the cannon shell going through the fuselage of a Hurricane very often would keep going and not explode.
Of course, much more business-like innovation.
It was banned towards the latter stages of the Battle of Britain. You didn't quite know what was hanging off your aircraft when you came back from battle. So to preserve the aircraft...
He does like to do that, especially for the photographers. As you can see from his takeoff there, his canopy is open. He tells me he will keep it open for the first pass. So please make sure, if you do have a huge piece of glass on front of your camera, let's face it, most of you seem to have a huge piece of glass in front of your camera. This will be a great opportunity to get a close-up of Jonathan in the cockpit of this unique aircraft, the only flying Mark I Spitfire. Well, the Spitfire was built without compromise. The only thing that mattered was performance, and that required a very special wing and a very special engine. Now, the wing was a masterpiece of design. An elliptical wing induces the least amount of essential in a dogfight. And of course, the engine, well, that was the Rolls-Royce Merlin, one of the greatest all-time feats of engineering.
Interesting thing, Andy, was that R.J. Mitchell thought of that washout design before he actually ever put it into practice. That was something that he designed in his head, and he had the calculations done and told them to build it like that. It wasn't something that came from research. It was something that came from the genius of R.J. Mitchell.
Genius indeed. Of course, compared to the Hurricane, and the Hurricane in each wing, 4 Browning machine guns, the same for the Spitfire. In the Hurricane, they were all they were grouped very close together. The Spitfire, they had to be spread out because, of course, as you can see on this pass, the wheel had to fold into the wing as well.
But it was that requirement actually that led to the elliptical wing.
So now if you look away to your left-hand side, you can see Spitfire on its approach to land. Always a tricky part of any Spitfire sortie.
Rolling now.
Running to the show.
Starting, rolling. Come on, let's let it go! Little bit left. Now.
And I've just heard from Red One. He's going to start the rolling show today, which is good news.
Rolling. Out. Friends, come on. Go.
So, ladies and gentlemen, here they are, the 2010 Red Arrow. The team this year is led at the front there by Red One, squadron leader Ben Murphy, who we know as Baz. And therefore he's seen several operational tours in Afghanistan. He's a keen kite surfer and runner, and he's also got a very fetching Barbie costume which he wears to fancy dress parties, and in fact we've seen 3 outings of it already this year, and it's not pretty. The team now are in they're in 9 arrow formation as they turn in towards us, probably around about 2.5 to 3G here, as they set up for a run down the line.
Smoke on. Go.
As the smoke goes off, you'll see Reds 8 and 9, the 2 outside men, barrel roll back and fit into the back of the formation, forming a shape we know as Fred formation. And while it sounds like a ridiculous name for a formation, it's actually short for feathered arrow. And as they start this right-hand turn now, you'll see that. Now those wide positions, and Kermit in particular, have got a real job maintaining position here. And such a long way from the leader, there's a lot of rudder required to maintain that position. As they top out there around about 2,500 feet. While he was in New Zealand, Kermit learned how to touch type while he was at school, and he can touch type at 60 words a minute. And of course, we don't banter him on the team about that one bit.
Right.
On to fly the Hawk as a flying instructor at RAF Valley, and later served on 13 squadrons serving on operations in Iraq. At the moment though, she's in one of our most famous formations, Diamond, as they fly past us with the white smoke on at about 3G here, ladies and gentlemen. Or in English, 2-3 go 8-9. That's the pilots acknowledging the change to tango formation, an unforgiving formation here. Anything with straight lines in it like this means that the pilots have to be particularly accurate with their position keeping, and they're all looking to Red One at the front for their formation reference. Now, we have a public relations team who do an awful lot of work getting the right message from the Red Arrows and the Royal Air Force out across the country throughout our display season, and they're here today at Kemble with us. And they're led by our acting PR manager, Emma Thomas, who's affectionately known on the team as Trigger. So, as a mark of respect to all the hard work she puts in and her team, this year we're calling Tango T for trigger formation. He was brought up in Colwyn Bay, in North Wales, where he went to Brynellian School, and he went to the University of Manchester Institute for Science and Technology. That's a real mouthful, where he got a degree in mechanical engineering. At the moment, though, you're watching the Apollo Twister, and the Red Arrows have gone very patriotic as we fly past with some lovely red, white and blue smoke. So in that last command there, and roll, you'll notice that Red 1 emphasised the word roll. That's so that all the pilots can anticipate their control inputs to move at exactly the same time as he does. If they don't do that, and they just watch him and react, then the formation will have lag in it, and in fact, all the shapes would look bowed. That's no good for a public display, so it's all initiated by the voice command. And I'll say to former Harrier pilot, again with a degree in geography, capable map reader then, one would assume, and he's also done 4 operational tours in Afghanistan. At the moment, ladies and gentlemen, this is SR-71 Blackbird formation. Many of you will know that this year is the 70th anniversary of the Battle of Britain. So, ladies and gentlemen, the very patriotic victory roll. The 2 aircraft sitting behind Red 1, providing the fuselage of our Spitfire or Hurricane, are Red 6 and 7, the support pair. At the back is Red 7, Flight Lieutenant Dave Montenegro, known on the team as Monty. And you won't be surprised to hear that with a name like that, he was born in Colombia, but he came back to the UK at the age of 1 and grew up in South London, where he went to Dulwich School. He's got a degree of filling up in Chevron. Apologies, and about to change to Chevron.
Chevron. Go!
A twist to the left. So, ladies and gentlemen, that completes the first half of the show. There's plenty more to come. What you've seen so far, then, is all the graceful flying. The big 9 at 3 or 4G have everything in their cockpit weighing 3 or 4 times more what it does on Earth, and that makes the formation fly that much more difficult. Now, as they run in towards us, it's Enid on top, Jip on the bottom, as we get to start the second half of the show with the detonator.
Enid. Right, go!
Former Jaguar pilots in the team. Duffy went to Queen Elizabeth Grammar School in Penrith in Cumbria and joined the Royal Air Force and went on to fly the Jaguar GR3 RAF Cotswold, which is an aircraft which is now out of service. In fact, Pablo also used to fly Jaguars before coming to the team. If you take a look out to the front then, you can see the synchro. Chances of you can guess what it's going to be. Worked it out. This is the Red Arrow's famous heart, this time red against the white clouds. And Cupid's arrow today is provided by Kermit's Red 9, 50 knots. That's going to make total closure of 800 miles an hour as they fly this manoeuvre with the air brakes out, called double rolls. The air brakes provide a nice shaped roll and a good smoke trail. got his red smoke on, and his barrel rolls make the mathematical symbol for infinity. At the moment, red 2, in theory then, that's Benjamin Plank, our second first year in the team, is leading the formation. So as they split for the infinity break, it's Planky's moment of fame.